morning. It's Monday, June 3rd. It's our first day of summer classes, summer session 1, and a few other sessions started today. So we're happy to see students on campus. Thanks for joining us on Up to the Minute. We're bringing you all the news, announcements, and events along with a couple of special guests. I'm Dr. Amy Tan, Dean of HCC's English and Communications, and I'm joined today by Dr. Nicholas Cox, the History Department Chair. Good morning, Nick.
Good morning, Dean Tan. How was your weekend?
It was fabulous, except for the mosquitoes.
Yes, the mosquitoes and the heat, ruining the summer already.
Yeah, we got to go out there and dump all the water out so they don't grow from all the rain. Well, and it's like I said, have you seen many students on campus this morning wandering around?
You know, the last 2 or 3 weeks, my building was a ghost town, but now the parking lot's full, the hallways are full, and before 8 a.m., all the classrooms were still locked, so students were definitely hanging out in the hallways. It was nice to see.
It's good to see everyone back. Well, we are live on HCCTV when HCC is in session, but how can people find us?
Yeah, that's right. We are live on the Houston Community College District's Facebook page and on YouTube. We're also on X, LinkedIn, and HCC TV at noon, 5, and 10 p.m. Monday through Friday.
And today is our Mental Health Monday. One of our monthly guests is here to discuss post-traumatic growth. Good morning, Dr. Sean Fitzpatrick, Executive Director of the Jung Center of Houston, and our Mental Health Monday guest.
Good morning, Amy. It's good to see you again.
It's good to have you back, and I will be right with you after the first interview.
Sounds good.
First, Nick is talking about textbook savings and a new proposed initiative with Dr. Donald Parker.
Dr. Parker, welcome to the show. You are the Biology Department Chair, Associate Chair elect, and our long-serving Inclusive Access Coordinator for the college. Let's talk about textbooks.
Well, hey, Nick, thanks for having me. Glad and excited to be here. You know, here at Houston Community College, we're all about equality, but also affordable education. And so that's what we're trying to do with our textbook savings program.
So we're starting to prepare students to register for the fall, and even some students are still registering for summer classes. They always want to save money on textbooks and supplies, and I understand you've got some advice for them. Tell us about a proposed new textbook savings initiative.
Well, before we get there, Nick, let's really just talk about what we already have. In the textbook savings program, it's really made up of currently 3 initiatives. One is our open educational resource materials that we have in our zero-cost books program. We have the low-cost books, which are books that we know with the final cost to a student being less than $40. And then we have the inclusive access program. The inclusive access program is where students are provided with digital course materials that are somewhere between 30 to 50% cheaper than the physical textbooks, and they have them on the first day of class. With that program, students do not have to wait for their financial aid to clear or their military checks to come through after being in class that 2 to 3 weeks, and then they're able to access them on the first day of class. So with the zero cost books program and an inclusive access program, everybody has what they need on day one. They start off on a level playing field to allow them to have what they need. Now, like you said, the new initiative that we're looking at, really we're looking at what we're saying like an affordable access. And so now we're looking at that other 50% of students that get physical textbooks that have not been able to get what they need. They're going into the classroom. We know that 80% of those students are delaying getting what they need. Of that, 40% never get those course materials. And what's happening is a lot of students say they go to the class, they listen to the lecture, they get the PowerPoints, and then they see if they can pass the class after the first exam. If they don't, then they withdraw. And so what we want to do with this affordable access for the physical textbooks is to provide a program where the course materials will be $20 per credit hour. That way the students will know exactly how much they're spending to try to make it more affordable for them.
Right. So the 3 textbook savings programs we have now are sort of $0, 0 to 40, and above 40. This one would then fall into kind of a $60 or $80 per course, depending on a 3 or 4 hour course.
Right.
If all of these are delivering books electronically via Canvas, so students have them on day one, and there are these different price ranges, What are some of the other benefits of adding a fourth textbook savings program that we don't already see in the three that we have now? What would be
Yeah,
the
so excellent question. With that physical textbooks coming in, what we know is that we'll take away a lot of the anxiety that our students are feeling. One of the things that we know about the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board, they're really looking at the total cost of education for our students. And so this physical textbooks that are running our students quite an exorbitant amount, what we're doing is saying, hey, we don't want you to withdraw because you can't afford what you need to have the materials to pass the class, but we want to provide a pathway that will make it more affordable for you to have what you need to be successful. So what are we doing? We're removing the barriers to access to education that can change their lives and the lives of their families in the future.
So if you're a student here, how would a student know which of the textbook savings programs they were signing up for, or which one would be best for them? How much choice do students have? Are these decisions made by the professor, the department, the college?
Excellent question. So, Nick, the academic freedom has not been removed from being able to select the course materials that are going to be used for a class. So that still resides with the program, who votes on the course materials they will use and which one of those programs, if they would like for it to fit into, whether it be inclusive access or the low-cost books program, or just the traditional way that we've always done it, where they just buy from the bookstores or find it online. So with this program, what our students have to do is when they search, do a course search, it will indicate in the course material and other material section, whether it is the zero cost books, low cost books, or the inclusive access program. I strongly urge our students to really look at that section when making their selections, because it can make a difference in how much they're paying for the course materials. Another thing is, and if it's a traditional course materials, I would strongly ask them to really to talk to the department chair or the deans and just say, is it any way that we can try to get it to a OER course materials or to an inclusive access program? Because what I found when I poll my students and I say, hey, we have opportunity, we're having a book selection. Would y'all prefer to go back to a hard book or to a digital book when I'm talking about inclusive access materials and our OER, which are being delivered digitally? I'm saying, would you like us to go back to physical materials? And they're telling me no. And I know for my age category, I know all of you guys are young. So I prefer physical textbooks just because that's how I was raised. But for our students that we have now, it seems to be that our feeder schools are using more digital materials, and that's what they're used to, and they don't want to carry as much material. So I guess we have to get used to what they like. I know for me and probably us, we like physical textbooks and being able to flip that page, but for them, that's what they like. And we have to kind of understand where we're at now in the 21st century education, that things may be evolving, and we may have to evolve with our scholars that are here that we're supporting.
Yeah, my sons are 18 and 24, and they use digital textbooks in college and high school almost their entire lives. And at the same time, as the chair of the history department, I can say just categorically, historians are people who buy, read, and write and consume books, physical books, libraries full of books, but not survey textbooks. I don't know any historian that spends their summer reading survey textbooks. It's absolutely fine with me to save some students money and give them the electronic textbooks that they are accustomed to using. But at the same time, I still have books that I bought in college and used in college, just not the textbooks. Those were sold back at the end of finals every semester.
We all look for the blue and red tint.
That's right. So I suppose one of the last questions I have for you before we run out of time here is, when students give you feedback, aside from preferring digital, what do you hear from students about our efforts to reduce prices? Have you heard a lot of feedback from students asking us to do more, expressing appreciation?
Yeah, one of the things that I'm really getting in the feedback is, one, I'm glad I don't have to stand in that long line at the bookstore anymore. Two, I'm not, because our individual colleges may have used two different course materials, they really like not having a problem of choosing the wrong one. The third thing is that the affordability, and they don't have to lug a lot of heavy books around, and they can even read no matter where they're at. So portability. But I really get the heartfelt emails from our students that really say that, hey, I can't afford this course materials. Why isn't this class using something that I can afford? And this is the last class I need. And you can hear it in my voice. It pains me. I, I, I just don't like those calls.
Yeah.
And I just wish that all of us can really just really focus on helping them to get to where they want to be in their life. And I think we're all coming there to understanding from a student perspective, what can we do to make a difference in their lives? And that's a part of our calling, our mission being here. Uh, None of us have to be here at this community college. We're here because we want to make a difference in student lives. And that's where we're going to continue to go. And we're going to continue to have good conversations about how we can evolve and make affordable access for all our students and how we can tailor those things for our institution. And that's where it comes from great communication and all of us having an understanding that we all want the best for our students and trying to make that difference.
Right, right. And over on my side in the history department, every faculty member is generally using one of these textbook savings programs already, whether it's zero cost using OERs, which I strongly encourage. There's so much wonderful material out there available to students, or shifting to ebook delivery through inclusive access. And if faculty mix and match a little inclusive access and a little OERs, we can definitely come in at low cost, under $40 as well. And we just do everything we can to drive those costs down.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Parker. We appreciate your time, and we'll hear more about this new textbook savings initiative as it develops. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Dr. Cox and Dr. Parker, for all of that wonderful information. Moving on to Dr. Sean Fitzpatrick, Executive Director of the Jung Center of Houston, and our Mental Health Monday guest. Welcome back, Sean.
Thank you for having me back. I'm glad to be here.
Well, and thanks for joining us again to talk about turning a negative into a positive. Yeah. You say that no matter who we are or how privileged we are, bad things will happen to us and we will suffer. But we can also learn important things through those moments.
Yeah, this is a timeless dynamic in human lives. I think, it's very difficult to tell someone who has just lost a loved one that there's a silver lining, right? That things are going to get better. We may know that intuitively that at some point it will, but also on some level it's maybe just a way of avoiding suffering. Likewise, for somebody who's a survivor of violence, telling them that they're going to be stronger because of it, that's actually one of my stronger than a pet peeve. When we tell people who have gone through difficult things that they're going to develop resilience because of it. Ultimately, we don't want to have gone through the difficult tasks or difficult experiences because they can shatter us, and sometimes they really do. But talking about the effect of trauma as being just damaging and diminishing is also a problem. This is why, along with post-traumatic stress, psychology is now talking more about post-traumatic growth, and they're two conversations that happen in parallel. Both can be true at the same time. It's worth saying too. I just saw this morning. The New York Times covered a study was just released suggesting that as of 2022, that post-traumatic stress disorder diagnoses had doubled on college campuses among students. It was up to 7.5%. Yeah, obviously, this is the data takes a while to catch up with this, but it's worth noting that it's actually double the amount that it had been 5 years prior. So this is an ongoing concern for students on college campuses.
Definitely. And I think that our faculty and our staff, particularly our frontline staff, they encounter students who are suffering from PTSD, and it's fascinating because as you mature and you look back over your life, you can definitely point to moments where it was hard, you were suffering, but when you became a stronger person on the other side, and while we don't want to suffer, certainly, but we that it is important to find what we can in that. So tell us more about what post-traumatic growth is and how it can be a positive part of our life after suffering trauma.
I want to sort of drill down on what you just shared, because of course it's a very common experience, and generationally speaking, right, that it's for those of us a little bit older who have had more life experience, we do understand that experiences that maybe we experience as shattering in the moment, that we do grow, then we do continue to grow. And so for those of us who are holding that experience with younger people, right, or people who haven't had these experiences before, really the first emphasis should be on holding their immediate experience, right? Listening to and affirming how difficult it is, and maybe how broken they feel or how much their world has changed because of it, and not diminishing that. Focusing first on the suffering that we are experiencing. We don't want to. One of the mistakes we can make is by bypassing it, or saying, "Oh, well, it's going to get better, and you'll see." But that is also the wisdom that we can share. Those of us, and it isn't so much about age, it's those of us who have had difficult experiences and lived through them, that we can and do live through them, and that we can grow out of that experience. So we can think about that in 5 ways. Potentially at least 5 ways. So the first is just that we experience ourselves as being stronger through it. Another is that our relationships can grow and deepen. That vulnerability that comes with loss and also trauma can deepen the relationships we have in our life, both from caregivers, and also just increases the value of the friendships and family that are in our lives. We can, of course, experience a greater appreciation for life. This is particularly for those who've experienced life-threatening trauma, right? Experiences of threat to life. We can see more possibilities for our future. We might have been stuck in patterns that now have changed because of that trauma, and we see that there are new ways of being that happen because of that. And also, and this is maybe I think very common, is that we grow spiritually through these experiences.
Yeah, and I think of what you're saying, especially when you have children or you're working with a student, that you want to make sure you are there for them and helping them through that moment of whatever the pressure or the stressor is, and you don't know where it's going to lead you in that moment, and it's only through a retrospective where you can say, okay, I like who I am. I like the person I am today. And the only reason I am is because of the experiences that I've had. Some of them not great. And
right.
I think that's an important moment, and it does take time. So what makes that kind of growth possible?
Yeah, and just to double click on what you're saying, one of my reactions to it is that there's also a piece about the crumbling edifice of mental health stigma right now, that being able to talk about without sharing detail that might be itself traumatizing to others, but being able to talk about the reality of our experiences. I think often many of us, most of us, go through the world imagining that others are living these flawless, perfect lives, and the reality is, of course, not that at all.
Especially with social media, I just had to throw that out there, right?
Yes. Oh God, I won't go on that rant this morning, but yes, right. We curate the way we present ourselves to the world. But let's talk about 5 different factors here that may make this growth possible. The first is what we might call brutally honest optimism, which I really like. It's doing 2 things at once. One, it is actually looking at what is real and not shying away from that, right? I used that term bypass earlier, and it is often, I think, it's a kind of avoidance, and we'll talk a little bit more about avoidance in a minute. But we want to stay with what is real and talk about what is real, and also operate out of a fundamental openness to what is good and what is positive, and noticing that those are still present here, right? And are possible in our lives, no matter what kinds of experiences that we've had, often in small ways and in moment-to-moment experiences. The second is the degree to which we experience ourselves as having control over events, Often that's what happens when we experience trauma, is that we lose control, and that's a capacity that both comes out of our history, because it may be that in people live different lives, and in our history we may have actually had very little experience of control over events, but it is something that can be cultivated, and I think in small but meaningful ways over time, particularly after we've experienced a disruptive event in our lives. The third is what we might call our coping style and how we engage with it. So generally speaking, there are two kinds of coping styles, and one of them is to get really active, to get into problem solving mode, which can be a way of avoiding what we're feeling, but to step right in and say, okay, this is a problem that I can solve. I'm going to do something. The other is what we might call avoidance. And for those of us who are clinicians, we think about dissociation as not a choice, but something that is a natural part of our human reaction to experiences, that we sort of lose connection with our moment-to-moment experience. And so neither of these are intrinsically good or bad. However, over time, again, coming back to what is real, and what is real is often feeling that we're avoiding, and the facts of what has changed. Even noticing the ways in which we are avoiding, noticing the ways in which we're escaping into fantasy and so on, coming back to what is actual and real, and getting people to help us with that. If we can accept what has happened and positively reinterpret the events, it can be transformative for us. I've got one. Go ahead.
We have to. I know you want
to. We have to go. That's fine. We've got to jump.
But I want to give you a chance to tell us what's coming up at the Jung Center.
You bet. So we have a couple things. One is that we have a wonderful class coming on this week. Our Community for Conscious Aging holds monthly lunch and learns, and we've got one happening on coming up, actually not this week, but next week, Wednesday, June 12th. It's called The Emergence of the Sage, Introducing Saging International, and it's about how to move from simply being in a position of aging to understanding that one has innate capacities for wisdom to share with the world. And it's free, and invite everybody to attend who's interested.
That's fantastic. And Sean, thanks so much for coming and talking to us about how we can grow after experiencing trauma. I mean, it is a really interesting, and as you said, a more prevalent topic that we're all going to encounter. And
I think for the good, we need to talk about it more. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Sean Fitzpatrick, Executive Director of the Jung Center of Houston, and our Mental Health Monday guest. We'll have all the information in the post after the show. It's always great to have you on the show.
Thank you so much. Take care.
And I'll see you again in a couple more Mondays.
Sounds good.
Great. So, Nick, we have some news, events, and announcements to get to. The first one is Ableton Live workshops with a Grammy winner. This summer, HCC will host 2 Ableton workshops on music theory, creating beats, sampling, and remixing. June sessions will be led by Grammy-winning HCC professor Nate Robinson. July's will be led by Ableton certified trainer David Sharma. That's going to be 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Saturdays, June 8 and 15 at HCC North Forest campus. As well as July 6th and 13th at HCC Northwest Spring Branch campus. The registration information is in our post after the show, and you can learn how to code.
That's right. We've got some summer camps coming up with AI and robots. The HCC Northeast Summer Camp participants will learn about coding with AI and robotics free of charge, and lunch is included. This will be at our North Forest campus from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Monday through Friday, starting June 24th. Check our post after the show for more information.
Lunch is always welcome. Admissions information sessions get all the help you need. Looking to enroll for the summer or fall, but overwhelmed with the admissions process? HCC can help with its virtual information sessions to guide you through the entire enrollment process. Regardless of your questions, HCC's advisors can support you through the process. Check our post after the show for registration info.
And if robotics and AI is not your thing, we have another summer camp. This is the Agriculture Summer Camp. If you're looking for something fun and educational for your kids, HCC's Agricultural Camp will study science careers and horticulture, giving hands-on activities with plants. It's for grades 6 to 9, costs $25, and it also runs June 24th to June 28th from 8:30 to 12:30, Monday through Friday. This is at our HCC Katy campus. Registration info is in our post after the show.
So we won't have a show tomorrow for Up to the Minute. Communications will be having an in-service because the HCC Communications Division will attend a quarterly in-service training meeting. Up to the Minute will not air. We will broadcast a best of episode of the show on HCTV. So tune in tomorrow to see if you get to watch an episode with Dr. Cox and me for best of on Tuesday, June 4th. We will return with our live show on Wednesday, June 5th.
That's right. They can just play this episode twice. Why not, right?
Why not?
All right. Well, last announcement. We're running out of time here, but registration is open for both fall and some summer sessions. We have online anytime classes, online on a schedule classes that meet virtually. We certainly have traditional in-person classes, and we have hybrids where you meet a little online, a little in person. And yes, we do hybrid labs as well. You can learn more about the courses, modalities, times, campuses, teachers, everything you need to know. Go to hccs.edu/apply.
And we're looking forward, like I said today, students are back on campus. It's great to have everyone around, and it's nice to have a little break between, but we really enjoy having the students back on campus. So thanks for joining me today, Dr. Cox.
Have a great day, Dean Tan.
Coming up, as we said, Up to the Minute will not air tomorrow because of a quarterly departmental in-service meeting, but we will broadcast a best of episode of the show on HCCTV. And on that day, Wednesday, we'll welcome the return of our monthly special segment, HCC Lifestyle and Culture, which will feature the hospitality program of the Consumer Arts and Sciences COE. Thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you next time.